In this video, I will show you a few simple and cool camera movements using a stabilizer, demonstrated through the shooting of a small scene with 2 actors. Having the new electronic stabilizer Crane 4, I decided to test it by filming a scene with various camera movement techniques. I decided to set up the stabilizer with a Red Gemini camera, DZO Vespid lenses at 21-35 and 50mm, and a focus module. The setup weighed around 5 kilograms, which is the limit I can use on the stabilizer. Honestly, I wasn't entirely sure I could mount the Gemini due to its weight and size, but we did it for the sake of experimentation. An experiment in which we can claim that we used professional filmmaking equipment. Okay, the first technique I want to share with you is the classic slide-in shot. The unique feature of the gimbal stabilizers is that it works best in active motion, for example during walking or covering longer distances, allowing you to build up momentum. The surface we walk on also plays a significant role. On a flat floor, the shots turn out more balanced compared to an uneven one. Additionally, on a smooth surface, you can use a Segway for maximum smoothness. However, if you have limited time and no time for rearrangements, as in my case here, the stabilizer saves a lot of time, provided you won't be constantly changing different lenses and rebalancing the stabilizer. It's just a run-and-gun approach. Speaking of this technique in this shot, I use the slide-in to introduce something important and emphasized. It's like an introduction into the story. Such shots work well at the beginning of any scene. It's like we are entering the scene as viewers, along with the camera movement. Or as in this shot, we use the slide-in not to open the scene, but to emphasize and intensify the character's emotions. According to the script, the character is trying not to fall for his girlfriend's manipulation and makes a counter move by starting the car, hinting that he might leave without her, but he's unsure. With the slide-in, we enhance this emotion. The coolest thing in filmmaking is in-frame editing inside one scene, using a change of composition and camera movement. It looks really impressive in videos. However, certain conditions need to be met for such movements, and ideally, they should be rehearsed before shooting to understand what equipment you'll need, whether it's a slider, dolly, or Steadicam. You'll also figure out where to hide light sources and what lighting scheme to use for such shots. While shooting a scene where the character goes outside to be alone with themselves after a quarrel, casually walking near the car, I thought it would be cool to change a few camera positions within one shot. I couldn't achieve this with a slider, as I would see the rail tracks in the frame. I used the stabilizer. Also, I try to break down such shots into control points. For example, this shot consists of 3 points. At each point, I set the composition and show actions and acting, then move on to the next points. The crane technique is something I would afford either with a crane or a dolly, spending about 15 or 20 minutes setting them up and extra budget. However, with Crane 4, I executed it in a matter of seconds. The magic of such a movement lies in the parallax effect between the position of the background lines and the character in the frame. I didn't have a specific narrative purpose for this movement. I just liked it because the static camera shot would have looked dull in this case. Performing this technique is quite easy with a lightweight camera to ensure your movement is more precise and the trajectory of the camera descent is straight. The pivot technique involves finding an object or a specific character in the frame and using it as the pivot, stable point to maintain the composition. The object can be in the center or at the edge, depending on your preference. By holding onto the pivot, you can move the camera and change the composition in any direction. On the stabilizer, I prefer to move along the horizontal axis around the object. Using this technique, I can reveal information or previously hidden characters in the background. In this scene, I initially introduced one character and then revealed a second character who had actually been approaching the girl all along. For the audience, I tried to provide information about the character's actions gradually, not revealing everything at once and from the first seconds. Okay, I invite you to see what we managed to capture in 3 hours with the sunset and electronic stabilizer. The main tool for working on camera movement in this project was the Crane 4 stabilizer. Unfortunately, I have very little experience with manual stabilizers because I prefer to work with professional Steadicam operators on various projects. I advocate for everyone to focus on their own tasks. Working with a Steadicam or gimbal stabilizer is challenging and can be disheartening for me due to the lack of practice needed for smooth and confident movements. However, despite my limited experience, I was pleasantly surprised by Crane 4 with its friendly and intuitive interface, easy camera setup, and balancing. I also want to note how tactile the stabilizer is. The quality of the coating and materials feels impressive and expensive. Additionally, I was amazed at how long the Crane 4's battery lasted. After shooting this video, I used only about 35% of the total charge. A couple of tips for you if you're working with similar camera movement techniques. I recommend not overloading the stabilizer with more than 50% of its stated capacity. Firstly, it will be challenging for your arm, and due to the weight of the Gemini, it was quite difficult for me to maintain a stable position for a long time. Next time, I would choose something lighter like the Sony FX3 or Blackmagic Pocket 6K. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.